So today we're going to be looking at some Star Trek action figures, or some might call them dolls. So basically action figures with cloth uniforms, and the earliest ones that were released by a company called Mego. They were famous for doing superhero figures and dolls in various scales, and they decided to bring out a Star Trek set. The original lineup, in the UK at least, was Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and the Klingon. In America, they also did a Lieutenant Uhura doll, but Palatoy, who released them in the UK, didn't think a female doll would sell very well to boys, because these were predominantly aimed at boys to collect. But I thought we'd have a look at these first. So these are both original 1970s, early to mid 1970s figures. There's two different types of body that Mego used. This is a Spock, and it's used on what's called a Type 1 body, and you can tell these at a glance because they have massive great rivet joints. So metal rivets, quite crude sculpting on the hands, and the way that they're held together by elastic inside the body means that the legs always splay apart and they stand in a really weird stance. But the Star Trek crew figures were pretty good likenesses. They were actually based on the animated version of Star Trek rather than a TV show, which is reflected in the Klingon uniforms, etc. And they're pretty good likenesses. So this is Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock. His head's in pretty good nick. This size of Mego, the 8-inch Megos, generally don't suffer from something that does affect the larger Megos, which is what they call greying of the head, or sometimes they call it zombification of the figures. Basically, the plastic that was used for the heads, the colours eventually break down and figures go very grey. I'll show you a James Bond one that I have on my shelf. And you can see, let's get in the light, how grey he is compared to the other Mego figures. I probably will repaint him at some point. But yeah, they suffered a lot from that, especially the large Mego figures. Some of the smaller ones are starting to do it, but it's not as prevalent. Is that a word? You know what I mean. So they come with little cloth uniforms, nice and bright, held together with poppers. The Star Trek figures, the crew figures, all had moulded on boots, which I quite like, because the original Star Trek boots were obviously really, really tight boots. So if they'd have put them with moulded on boots, it would have looked a bit strange. I've only got Spock in this range, but I'll show you in a minute. They have been reproduced a few times since then, to varying degrees of success. You also got a little phaser and a little communicator for each figure. So that's Spock. The Klingon is on the Type 2 Mego body, which you can see at a glance, plastic joints, no rivets, much better sculpted hands, much better standing, and they can keep their legs together, which is obviously important for a Starfleet officer. This is the Klingon. As you can see, sort of generic Klingon from the animated show in a cast-off Planet of the Apes top that Mego reused and added a few little bits extra. This is a reproduction 3D printed resin phaser I did. They actually come with the same Enterprise phaser and communicator, but in red for the Klingon and the Gorn, which is a bit strange. But I like this Klingon. He's really good. He's one of the most common figures. You can pick him up pretty cheaply. This one doesn't have the original boots. This one has Planet of the Apes boots, as you can see, because there's toes moulded on. They're probably rarer than the Klingon, to be honest, but he's a nice figure. The Gorn came in pretty much the same outfit, with a Mego Spider-Man lizard head, but in brown. It's a real sort of dodgy version. But over the years, they've reproduced these figures. One of the first was a company called Diamond Select, and they produced these in limited amounts. So this is Kirk, and it does show you sort of the style of packaging that the originals had. So those are 3 original paintings that were on the packaging. Really nicely packaged Amigos. This is a nice reproduction. You can sort of tell at a glance compared to an original. The jumper is much brighter yellow than the original. Also, the heads on these are pretty good. I've seen other ones where the head moulding is very soft, and you can tell on the boots that the moulding's not quite as good, not quite as nice as the original. Let's get this one out and we'll have a look at him. So this is the one out of the clamshell. So again, quite a nice sort of likeness, almost caricature of William Shatner, and again based on the animated show. He's got that Kirk smirk down to a T. Like I say, this is the reproduction one. And you can see the boots are sort of shinier, so you can see the difference. The original boots were quite matte finish. The reproduction ones are quite glossy and slightly lacking in detail, so they're quite easy to spot. But yeah, they did the second season of Mego 8-inch figures, and they were based on aliens. So you got things like the Gorn, really inaccurate, the Keeper, Talosian, a really nice Romulan, but mainly they were sort of lacking. They didn't appear like the ones in the show at all. It'd be nice if they'd have done some other crew members. But yeah, these were really good figures that were available at the time. They were head and shoulders above any other figures that were being produced at the time, and I absolutely loved these. I grew up with Mego figures. I used to take them apart, swap clothes, have different adventures. And then when Star Trek the Motion Picture came out, Mego did a range of larger figures. So these, if we compare the size, you can see these are little 8-inch figures. These ones are 12-inch, so more Action Man size. And they did a range of crew members and a couple of aliens. And these figures are superb. These are by far my best favourite Mego figures that they did. Certainly on par with the Black Hole figures. I remember getting one, the Admiral here, when I was a kid on holiday in South Wales in probably 1980. They were for sale in a little shop for the princely sum of £6.95, and I persuaded my parents to buy me one, and I had many happy years playing with Captain Kirk on his various adventures. The likeness is spot on for William Shatner at the time. The uniform is really well made. You got an embossed badge. I'm missing the sticker on the belt buckle, so I need to reproduce that. You got a phaser with each one, which was a nice movie style phaser, which I do like that design. And then you also got little booters. That's the only part that doesn't really look like the movie, but otherwise these were really well detailed. So I've got Kirk and Spock. That's not the original phaser for Spock. Let's pop it on there for display. Spock came in his grey uniform with the collar. Spock's starting to go a bit pale, you can see, compared, but Spock is a pale dude anyway, so I don't mind that. I'm not going to repaint him. They also did a Decker from the film, Ilea, a Klingon, who is absolutely amazing. I used to have him as well, but he went the way of most childhood things. And then they also did an Arcturan, which was sort of a melty-headed guy, and I used to have him, but he was a bit nondescript. It's a shame they did that. I can see why they were doing aliens, but it'd been nice to have got a McCoy figure. So yeah, so these were the 12-inch, my favourite Star Trek figures, dolls. I hope to get the rest of the set at some point. And then in the sort of mid-90s, a company called Playmates got some Star Trek licenses, and one of the ones they got was to produce some figures, and they decided to produce some that were very reminiscent of the Mego figures that we all grew up with. Not quite as well made, but these do appeal in their own way. So like Mego, they used a standard body and just changed the uniform and head on everyone. So you got people like Picard, which is again a really nice likeness for Patrick Stewart. Just come to focus. The badges not quite so good because it's just a transfer on the uniform. Quite muscular body they used, limited articulation, not bad. These are more display figures. I can't imagine many kids played with these. Molded on boots, which again is quite a good idea because it means the size works. So they did a series of captains. They did some original Trek ones, and then my favourite figure is Admiral Kirk. This one was from Generations, but he's in the same uniform he was wearing in the Wrath of Khan onwards, and it's really nice. It's my favourite Star Trek uniform, I think. It worked really well on this figure. Great likeness of Shatner in his sort of later days. They also did ones from other Star Trek shows like Voyager and Deep Space Nine. As I say, this is an Odo one. The bulky clothes on this one doesn't quite work because Odo's quite thin, and he does look like he's got a little pin head, and that's the trouble with them using the same muscular body on everything. But yeah, these were quite nice. I used to have loads of these and got rid of them over the years. You can pick them up quite cheaply on eBay, especially if you don't want them boxed. These two I got boxed, and then this one I just picked up as a couple of quid, just loose. So this is another Diamond Select Toys Next Gen figure. We did a series of Next Gen. You got Picard, Data, Borg, Klingon. This one's the Borg. He seems to be the easiest to get hold of. Is it me, or does that look like Lee Majors? Does a bit. There's Picard. Not quite as nice a likeness as the Playmates one, but the uniform looks nicer, I think. So I hope to get that one day. These seem to come in pairs when they were shipped, so I think Picard sold quite well, the Borg didn't. Again, these Borg ones you can pick up dirt cheap. And then, as I said, Mego themselves, or the company we're claiming to be Megos, is producing new figures, not only of Star Trek but lots of other things. So they produced a Gorn figure, and this one's actually screen accurate. There's the red phasers that the Klingons and the original Gorn came with. So I picked these up when I was in America. You can get various different ones. They've done loads of different ones now. At this point it was Romulan, who was a reproduction one of the original show. Sulu was a new sculpt, and the Gorn was a new sculpt. These are really nice. If I ever am in America and I see these, I will always pick them up. And then they also did a box set, which I did pick up from Walmart when I was over there, which is the Mirror Universe Kirk and Spock. I love this set. It was like $20 or something mad. It's really cheap. And you get Spock in his Mirror Universe, Spock in his bearded Mirror Universe version, and then Kirk, which is the same sculpt as Kirk they normally sell, just in his Mirror Universe one. That comes in a lovely display box. So yeah, long may they continue making these. If I buy any more, I'll certainly show them. But yeah, I'd like to see what you've got as well. I realise that some people have much better collections of these Mego figures than I have. I've got a few from other shows like Doctor Who, Black Holes, that sort of thing. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this was of interest, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these style videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks then. Bye.